Let me get to this nut job Maxine Waters, who, by the way, is an absolute racist. And is one of the most hateful liberal Democrats, I think, in modern day politics. I really believe that. She was being interviewed on, let me see if I could find it here. Tell me if you guys have ever heard of this. Spectrum News 1's In Focus SoCal. I don't know. I've never heard of it. It must be a California station. I don't know. But the interviewer was, or the anchor, I should say, was someone named Tanya McRae. Never heard of her in my life. But anyway, take a listen.
And we're going to move forward to 1992.
Kind of a weird
During
voice,
the LA
don't you think?
riots, you were a huge figure and leader within the black community and famously said, quote, "Riot is the voice of the unheard." And almost 30 years later, we again...
Riot is the voice of the unheard. Isn't that radical? Don't you guys over there on whatever station this is, Spectrum News 1... Don't you think that's radical to say that Riot is the voice of the unheard? It should never be. There's no excuse for rioting. But you say that in the form of a question to Maxine Waters as if it's something to celebrate, as if it's like a big heroic statement. Keep listening.
Racial tensions explode in this country after the death of George Floyd. Why do you think this country has such difficulty learning from history and making real changes when it comes to violence and injustice done to black people?
What is she talking about? I'm going to get to Maxine Waters in a minute. But just that question alone, why has America had so much trouble addressing injustices towards minorities or blacks or violence towards black? What is she talking about? We have made so much progress, ladies and gentlemen. Do you understand that slavery has been around on this earth for thousands of years? Thousands of years. We got rid of it in a couple hundred years. We had an entire movement in this country, a civil rights movement. Is that not substantial? Is that not significant? Is that not an example of America making progress? In 2008, we elected a black president. Is that not America making progress? Anyway, let's hear how Maxine Waters responds.
I believe that it stems from the history of this country. It stems from slavery, when whites were absolutely in charge and they absolutely controlled the lives of people and their families. If they decided to separate families...
What's funny is that she talks about control, right? Some people controlling other people. Sounds like the Democrat Party, doesn't it? I think this woman needs to look at her own damn party. If she's so concerned about Group A controlling Group B, some people controlling others in this country, the liberals are the controllers in chief. Honestly. Where there are massive regulations, there are ridiculous laws, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. I'm just saying, I think that she could benefit from looking inward a bit. That's all I'm saying, Maxine.
Send the boys in one direction, the girls in another direction, the mothers to the big house. I mean, they've always been in charge. And I think that this thinking about the need to control, the need to, make sure that people stay in their place, so-called, has been, what has been basically what has happened in America for all of these years. And I think it continues in various ways. Sometimes a little bit more sophisticated ways. But the police, I think, really believe, and in some ways are led to believe, that their greatest challenge and their greatest chore is to keep, black people in their place.
The fact that this woman really believes that, and I believe that she really believes that, it's sick. These brave men and women who put their lives on the line to keep our communities safe, to keep us safe, the people safe, regardless of skin color. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, yellow, purple, doesn't matter. They protect the community. And for this idiot to go on television and say that, I think most of the cops, they think that it's their job to keep black people in check, to keep them in place. That is absolutely sick. That is a sick, disgusting, twisted comment. I mean every word of that, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely horrible. So disrespectful to our men and women in blue. So terribly disrespectful. And by the way, she talks about race. She talks about how, this country has a long history of oppressing black people and so on and so forth. I just want to remind Maxine Waters that it was her party. It was her party. Her party that supported the KKK. It was her party that supported Jim Crow laws. It was her party that supported segregation. It was her party that opposed the Civil Rights Act. The Democrats. The Democrats. Republicans were for the Civil Rights Act. Republicans stood against the KKK. Stood against segregation. Republicans ended slavery. Democrats supported slavery. So if she wants to get into the history of this country, the racial history of this country, again, I would urge her to look at her own party. Because the history of the Democrat Party is a very, very dark history. It just is. It just is. So I'm sorry to end on that note, folks. I know most of you listening right now have blood pressure shooting through the roof, but that's just how it goes sometimes. We have to deal with these idiots as they come.